Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. Phil, quiet week. Not much going on this week.
Not really, not anything that I know. A lot of weather, a lot of school closings, and then they're opening and they're 2 hours late, and
slow weekend for me. Yeah, for me, for everybody in the Philadelphia region. Nothing really.
Not much going on this week, and it's definitely basketball season now.
Yeah, definitely basketball season. You know, I think championships are on people's mind. No reason in particular.
No, there shouldn't be, but that's the way it goes. It's a special time. But let me start with this. Sports is a micro version of life itself. Trials and tribulations, joy and difficulties, winning and losing are experienced by each of us. These emotions are part of living. They come and they go, but they are all ever present in every activity we participate in. Hopefully, they prepare us for the next challenges. But there is an emotion, an experience that's different. Championships are different. They are a lifetime tattoo. They will be with you forever. It's a fact of life. We will all lose possessions. We will all lose loved ones. We will all lose jobs. We will all lose friendships. These losses are inevitable, but the pain doesn't lessen because of the inevitability. And certainly, it's understandable that these circumstances knock you off balance. What you will never lose, what will always stand the test of time, are championships. The rings, the celebrations, the parades, they're special. But the tattoo that simply states champion will be with you for life. Congratulations, Philadelphia Eagles, 2025 NFL champions.
I had the incredible honor of being there to see it in person. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but we got to jump right into things because we have a champion on the show.
No question.
So let's roll into that Martelli minute.
Perfect. So Status Solutions Network is committed to making a difference by providing Alicia Law compliant safety technology to schools through a grant of use, ensuring that financial barriers never stand between students and proper safety. Each community has the power to create real change. This is a really, really, really big deal, what Status Solutions is doing for schools all over this country. Please learn more at statussolutions.com. That is a championship company. Never give in to mental fatigue. None of us realize how close we are to success until we try it one more time. That's a Martelli minute. We're going to have others. But we have to jump into my dear friend, Tom Izzo. And let me introduce him, and we will come back to Martelli minutes. But Tom Izzo is the real deal. A perfect example of this statement. Coaching is what he does. Hall of Fame coaching is what he does. But that pales in comparison to who he is. An ability to connect and care with everyone and anyone that has the unbelievable honor to come in contact with him. Unique, certainly, in the coaching profession. Extraordinary, because he's a treasure as a friend. A friend for everybody out there. Here's how you measure a friend. It's 2:00 in the morning, you're driving home, and you get a flat tire. Who are you going to call? And who do you have the utmost confidence is going to show up at that moment in time? When you're young, you think it's anybody and everybody. And as you get older, you realize that group gets smaller and smaller. The flip side is, How many people are going to call you, and how many people will you show up for? That is friendship. Tom Izzo will show up every single time. That's why I consider him dearest of friends.
Without further ado, there he is, Tom Izzo. I think right off the bat, we have to ask Coach, when was the last time you changed a flat tire?
Oh, it's been a while. It's been a while, but listening to you two guys and listening to Phil and coming off what I came off last night at just a crippling defeat at home, um, I would echo what he said. I wouldn't do this for just anybody at this point in time. But I told him, whenever you need me, I told him that during the day yesterday, and I told him, I think it was late last night or early this morning, that nothing's changed. Winning and losing doesn't change. Doing something, and believe it or not, Phil, listening to you talk about some of the moments is almost helping me get through this. So you're helping me more than you've taken up my time.
Well, appreciate it, Tom. And we like to start this segment on Make a Difference with your journey. Everybody sees you now as this figurehead, this leader in the coaching profession, Michigan State, synonymous with the whole university. But how did you end up in East Lansing?
You know, Phil, I was a GA at Northern Michigan, where I went to school, a little tiny Division II school, and then I became an assistant there for a couple of years. And I just thought if I was going to get anywhere, I had to leave there. You know, it's 400 miles north of where I am now. It's 11 months of winter, 1 month of poor sledding. We get a lot of snow where I'm from. It's and there's not a lot of diversity, or you're not in touch with a lot of people. You can't go around the corner and recruit. So I tried to apply for a job here, and Judd turned me down 3 times. And finally, there was a GA job open. I was 27 years old, and I asked him if I could be the GA. He said I was overqualified, and underpaid. And so I said, well, let me worry about that. So I was a GA here for 3 years, making about $5,000 a year, and kind of learned to pay my dues, learned to work for a guy. You know, it was Judd Heathcote, it was Bobby Knight, it was Gene Cady, it was Clem Haskins. I mean, it was a crazy time in the Big Ten, and those guys were like pillars. And so I learned a lot. I went to the University of Tulsa for 6 weeks because I was out of money. I had to get a real job. I couldn't be a GA anymore. And then guy left here to go to Siena, Mike Dean, and Judd hired me back, and I was here the next 8 years. And then he decided to retire, and they named me a year ahead of time. I was fortunate, you got to be to get jobs. So I was 38 years old, and I actually got this job, and I was lucky. That's all I can say. I was lucky.
The marriage has worked, and you and I both know that there's many guys out there that get jobs and they work those jobs. But Tom Izzo, Michigan State fits together. Why has the marriage worked?
That's a really good question. Michigan State's kind of the blue collar university and by the way, I got to give kudos to the Philadelphia Eagles, seeing you in your outfit. But I watched that game. I just loved what I heard, and all the things they did. But why did marriage work is because I think it's a blue collar institution. I'm a blue collar guy. I'm from the state of Michigan. I've really never left it other than the 6 weeks to go to Tulsa. And, I learned early that one AD called me the best program guy. I mean, I went to hockey games and football. I missed 5 football games in 40 years. And the reason I missed them, we were playing in, Maui or Puerto Rico or something. It was last game of the year. But I go to softball games. I go to everything and try to support everybody. The beauty of coming from a Division II school, nobody had any money, so there was no jealousies. Mm-hmm. Now these Division I schools, everybody's got pockets of money and everybody's mad at everybody. So I brought the Division II attitude where get along with everybody. And Nick Saban and I started together as assistants. Nick Saban and I started together as head coaches. So I've been so fortunate in who I've dealt with since I've been here, Phil, to be honest with you.
And if I could just editorialize for a moment, for everybody out there, when you get a moment and you want to touch your heart and you want to know what it means to be part of a community, Google Tom Izzo's talk after the tragedy at Michigan State. He gave his heart and soul to that school, and they've given it back to him, and he continues to do it every single day. So we started about championships. This is a champion. Do yourself that favor. Do that self your favor, because you all deserve to touch your heart as he did that day. So, Tom, today's game environment, how are you going to continue to keep your program transformational for the young people and their families who come in contact with you?
You know, we just had a big reunion last weekend with my championship team. It was 25 years. And we also brought in, another 100 players that played here. I mean, it was a sensational reunion. I have one every year. That's one way I do it. I think, and I know you do, Phil, it's a transaction-based world right now, and I want it to be a relationship-based program that I have. And trying to navigate that has been probably one of the most difficult things I've had to do. But when I brought those guys back and they came to my house that night, and you start listening to the stories, and one of them said to me, "You think this will ever happen again? Will kids be able to come back if they go to 3 different schools where they can?" And that was a sad moment, but it was the players that were sad about it, not me. And I thought, the things you and I fought on different boards for, I mean, I'm all for players making some money. I'm all for people having the right to do what they want to do. But I think sometimes you need boundaries. I mean, freedom is freedom, but there goes with a lot of sacrificing to get that freedom. I worry now that kids aren't going to ever sacrifice. And I know you did as a coach, Phil, and I know I did as a coach. And that's all, and what am I going to do? I'm going to try to do it the same way, adjust to the times a little bit. But if I have to go completely off kilter, I'll be sitting there with you and my new Philadelphia football friend there, and we'll be doing a 3-way podcast.
Now I need you to brag a little bit. Give us the secret sauce so you can walk and talk with the Kings. Magic Johnson, hit a button, you're talking to Magic Johnson or Nick Saban or whatever. But you have a unique ability to make your student managers feel like superstars. Where's that secret sauce come from?
I think how I was raised, we're sitting here talking about me, but as you know, many a times, and one of my favorite times when I came to Philadelphia, I think 2 years ago, in that summer, sat in one of those unbelievable gyms, and you were telling stories, and I think we came from kind of the same cloth. And I know what it's like to be a Division II guy. I know what it's like to have no money. I was 30 making $5,000 a year. I was 38 making about $30,000 a year. Then big money came, and big problems came too. As Judd said, make more money, got more problems. Make more money than that, got more problems than that. But I think humbleness, or humility is something that you just have. I don't think you can gain that. You're either a humble person or you're not. And I think sometimes we can let money or fame get to us. I've got enough good friends around, not many though, like you say, as you get older, small. And you become one of my good friends over these last 5 or 6 years because of the boards we're on and the issues. But you ever find yourself gravitating to the same kind of people you are? And as you get older, I think that's important. So money and fame matters, but it doesn't matter to me. I just want to be one of those regular guys that can go have a beer and a burger and watch a football game, call it a day.
Tom, you talk a lot about remaining humble, and obviously a lot of the, I guess, noise surrounding the program right now is yet another record of Bob Knights you're looking to break. I know it would have been quite poetic to get it done against Indiana, and sometimes the game just doesn't quite always work that way. But how humbling is it to kind of be in that same space with a legend, and how special has that been for you in this journey of kind of trying to continue to chase greatness as you always have?
Well, that's true, and I said you guys are catching me just coming off it. As you can tell, it was a late night. I mean, we had people flying in from everywhere because everybody wanted to. My best friend, Steve Mariucci, flew in and sat there. And, I said, when you're done, you feel like you let people down, but I am lucky that I've had a chance to do some things. And Bob Knight, controversial as he was good to me. I loved him. And he was a coach's coach. I've learned from people good and bad, like right now, I've got to adjust to these new terms, but I don't have to change who I am. And I think sometimes we don't adjust at all. And maybe he went through that a little bit, but there were a couple of his former players that were at the game last night that I had known. And they said, Bob would be proud if you break his record. And unfortunately, I didn't. That day may come, may not. I mean, these records are made to be broken, but they mean is you've lasted a long time at the same place. But I think it's a privilege to be talked about with a Bob Knight. And even though I've had him a year longer and we play more conference games and all that, hopefully Matt Painter will break mine. He's the next in line. This is something I don't live for. I live for the banners he put up. And I thought, Phil, you said it very well early. You said rings and things like that. Banners is one thing we talk about a lot here because they hang in these buildings. And when the building gets torn down, they move the banners to the new building. That's one thing that doesn't leave. And so I agreed with what Phil was talking about earlier, making a difference, that winning championships and banners is more important than a record that will be broken again.
Tom, I'll tell you, it's such a small world. I'm repping my Eagles jersey. I was down at the Super Bowl this weekend thanks to just an unbelievably great friend of mine, Ben McWilliams, who just happens to be Steve Mariucci's right-hand man. I was hanging out with Coach on Saturday, and I brought up, I said, hey, I'm talking to your best buddy later this week. I just got to know, high school buddies, college roommates, who was the messier roommate? Was it you? Was it Mooch? How bad was it?
It's funny because I didn't know he was coming up. I talked to him at the Super Bowl too. And I walked into the arena last night, and I usually go watch the warm-ups as Phil did when he was at Michigan. And, you go out there and you sit there, and not many coaches do it anymore. And who comes walking out but my best friend? And that was pretty cool. So then we stayed up. I didn't get home. It was a late game. It was 3:00 in the morning, and we just sat up and talked, and he had to leave at 6 to go back. He's got a son in Nashville, and his wife was there. So we talked about a lot of good things, but he too has been through getting fired, twice, once by the Lions and once by the 49ers. But that's why I like learning from different sports. And Steve is, it's been junior high, it's been elementary school since we've known each other. And to think we came from a town of 7,000 and I was able to land here and win a championship. He was coach at the time, one of the great programs, the 49ers. So small town boys made big for at least a little while.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tom, the Michigan State Spartans, a bump last night. How do you make a run to San Antonio with this group?
Play a lot better than we did last night, Phil, but in all honesty, we just didn't shoot it very well, and we were uncharacteristically poor defensively in the second half. They shot 64% against. I think that might be a career record for me. And give them credit. Excuse me. They, I I mean, Mike had to do a hell of a job, you know. I mean, they've been down and out. Now they did get a player back, Renew, who had 19 and 12 against us, and he's missed 5 games that he's played sparingly in 3 or 4, and now he's starting to come back in his own, and he's a good player. But they were down and out, and I told him after, you did a hell of a lot better job than I did, and I thought my team was ready to play. I have no qualms about that. We just didn't play good, and as Phil knows, you got to play good enough, but at this level, you got to play smart enough. We had 3 guys in severe foul trouble on some of the dumbest fouls known to mankind, and we didn't play smart enough. And I told my team after, we got killed in the post. I didn't double. I didn't do some things. And I told my players that, you know, once in a while the coach makes a mistake too. And this game I'm putting on me, not on you. They were ready to play. They didn't play great. They didn't make shots, but nobody tries to miss shots. But I didn't think I did as good a job. So on a night when I was supposed to break this iconic record, I look at one of the poor jobs I thought I did. And if you never think you're doing a bad job, you'll never get better. And that's the way I look at this whole thing. And so I'm going to try to get better, Phil. I'm going to try to get my team better. We are a nice team. We're not over talented, but play well together. Our margin for error is very slim.
And again, an editorial statement. Everybody out there, be honorable to the man in the mirror. You just heard it.
Yes.
That was being honorable to the man in the mirror. Forget all the other things. Forget all the criticisms and the accolades and everything like that. If you wake up every day and look at that man in the mirror and say, I did an honorable job, then you've had a really great day. Tom, we close this segment with one question. Who's made a difference in Tom Izzo's life?
Well, as I look back, you know, I could say Judd Heathcote, and I could name drop and say, you know, that Nick Saban, since we spent a lot of time together, and he's gone on to an iconic career. But, you know, I still think I'm a guy from my roots. And Judd did a lot, and so many coaches did a lot for me. But I think the way I was raised, and my father, you know, we had no money, and he was a working man's man, and an honest man, and that's what he taught me. You know, I happened to work for Judd Heathcote. Phil, you knew Judd a little bit. Judd was a working man. There were no excuses. In fact, I was probably fired more times in my life than most people could ever get fired, and that wasn't all bad because it taught me that I had to get better. And so my father, though, I think set the standard. And whenever I kind of like go through a night like last night, I just say to myself, hey, my old man got up a bunch of times after he was knocked down. And that's where you came from. So you better do the same thing. So I came back into work early this morning. I have a podcast, one today with my good friend and a guy that I respect. And I think, Phil, that's one thing we would agree on, that you don't have many great friends to start with, but you'll never have a great friend that you don't respect who he's all about.
Amen.
So respect is what I'm all about. And I've been fortunate, been around some good people, but nothing like the 18 years I spent under my dad, because he kind of were the building blocks of who I am, what I am. And I miss him.
Wow. Well, I knew it. I knew it. I never said it to you, but I knew it. And for anybody out there that watches or hits in, if you don't tear up listening to this friend speak, then check your pulse, because you're dead. That's just the way it is. Tom, love you, man. And can't wait to see all that you create, all the magic you create for the rest of this season. Thank you, my dear friend.
Well, thanks, Phil. Appreciate you guys. And again, Philadelphia, enjoy those guys, but quit thinking about firing the coach so fast. Yeah, he hasn't even. God, he's been to 2 championship games, and that's all I hear about. But so I'm sticking up for the coach still, Phil. But what a great Hurts and Shea Kwan. I mean, those guys are special guys. And Mariucci told me they're not only great players, but they're special guys. So hats off to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Tom, thank you so much. I think
Thank you.
Sirianni's got at least till week 1. We'll see if he wins that first one. Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
you, Phil. Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
man.
Appreciate you.
I love Make a Difference. It's a great podcast. I hope everybody does listen. You'll get a lot out of Phil.
That was terrific as always. He had more praise for the Eagles than you did, man. I mean,
but I was a football analyst.
Yeah, okay.
For years I was on WIP as a football analyst.
Okay.
But fascinating performance. There are some performances that were overlooked though in all of the hoopla. The coordinators, extraordinary. And Sirianni deserves all kinds of credit because he allowed the coordinators to coach. I'm not saying he didn't before, but that was a coaching staff championship, right? Here's another guy. Tom Izzo brought it up. Sirianni was out of here during the bye week. And then how about the kicker? The kicker was right there for MVP. Jake Elliott was right there. Defensive line, the kicker, the coordinators, and then Jalen Hurts.
Listen, I'll tell you what. If the quarterback plays a good game, he's getting that Super Bowl
I get
MVP.
that part.
That's just the way it works.
And
That's
the recovery. It's like the recovery, the Martelli minute recovery was here for all the time. A successful venture starts with you showing up. That's where it starts. You can't have this idea in your mind and then say, I'll leave it over there on the no, show up, get started. That's a successful venture. When offering praise, be specific. Be specific. Not, hey, good job, everyone. How about the guy that brought the donuts? How about the guy that set the table? How about all the cooks and the waiters and all of those people we want to praise and say it was a tremendous meal. Yeah, but that meal started with the way you were met at the door or the valet drive, whatever it would be. Be specific when you tell somebody, you did a great job representing on Bourbon Street last week. And then embrace the need to grow by trusting yourself to choose the best environment and the best friends. That will allow you to grow. So a little out of order, but you got magic. You'll put the Martelli minute together and we'll be able to do that. Then we can jump into where was I? But again, I'm giving that away. Super Bowl week. And I'm going to say to you, how was your experience in New Orleans?
I will tell you this right off the bat. You look like a member of the Philadelphia Eagles defense right there with that fumble recovery on the Martelli minute. And listen, we just have to give, I'll get to myself in a moment, but I mean, the sincerest thanks to Tom Izzo for joining us. I mean, he said it himself. He was up till 3:00 in the morning talking to his best friend, Steve Mariucci, last night. And he joins us just a few hours later to recap what was a tough loss where everybody was expecting him to make more Big Ten history. And feel for him. You could hear it in his voice. He was tired. I hope he's got a rest day today. He can kind of rest the vocal cords a little bit before he gets back going with practice and games later this week. But just unbelievable of him to join us and share some wisdom.
And again, the messages that he delivered, if you don't tear up, check your pulse.
100%. So I'll do a quick rundown as quick as I can. But I say this with the utmost sincerity. I just had the greatest week of my entire life. I touched down Wednesday night in New Orleans. I left Monday afternoon, and it was front to back. It was the best experience of my entire life. We jam-packed it. We saw New Orleans the best you can. We saw a swamp tour, a World War II museum, the Sazerac House. We walked down Bourbon Street. Yes, I did try just about every single specialty drink the city has to offer and specialty food. The muffaletta is top tier for any Italians heading down there to New Orleans. That is absolutely worth a try. And just a lot of serendipity that weekend. We happened to stumble upon info of a secret show for comedian Shane Gillis and country music star, folk music star Zach Bryan. I was 5 feet away from these, I mean, guys that sell out stadiums. To see them do a secret show on Saturday night, it was legitimately one of the coolest things I've ever seen. We had an unbelievable hookup thanks to our cousin Pat Jeffries, who hooked us up with an Eagles VIP event. We met Randall Cunningham, John Dornbos, and then, of course, the game. The game was terrific. It was everything I could have hoped for and more. Not only was it a butt whooping, the Eagles proved beyond a reasonable doubt or any doubt whatsoever that they were the best team in the league this year. It was just so much fun. Shared it with my brother, and sure, we looked like ants up there in the 600 level, but I'll tell you what, I know for a fact that the Eagles could hear us and every single fan in that stadium screaming our hearts out because they delivered the performance of a lifetime. At top to bottom, I mean, that was one of the most dominant Super Bowl performances of all time. It was unbelievable. And really, to cap all of it off perfectly was, again, Pat Jeffries coming through again with getting us into the Eagles post-game party. So my brother and I were just like laughing to ourselves. We're like, what did we do to deserve this? We're partying with the Eagles and the Lombardi trophy and the Eagle staff and everybody after the game. I mean, this was, again, top to bottom, it was the most unbelievable weekend of my life. I know I'm not married yet. I don't have kids yet. So that might change, but as it stands, the Eagles winning Super Bowl 59 and being able to see that in person was far and away the coolest thing that I've ever experienced.
Well, I'm delighted that you had that opportunity. And like we said, championships are forever. And so now you have a tattoo, and hopefully you'll wear it well.
I'll tell you what, I have never wanted to get a tattoo. That's because my mom was never a fan. Always just to do no tattoos. I don't know. I might have to break a rule for a Super Bowl 59 tattoo. We'll see. I don't know. I'll have to think about that because, man, that is something that will just be etched in my mind forever. Thankfully, I kept myself in control enough to remember all these wonderful moments. And
write them down.
Yeah, it was just truly spectacular. And circling back to Tom Izzo, I mean, one of the most fun parts of the weekend was my best friend, Ben McWilliams, was out to lunch on Saturday with Steve Mariucci, Tom's best friend. And we got to meet him. And it's, he's an NFL coach. He's been on NFL Network for decades at this point. He's been to 20 Super Bowls. People are coming up to him asking, Coach, who's going to win? Who's going to win Sunday? He could not have been more down to earth. He was, we're sitting with him and he's asking Jason what he does for a living. And, how's your family? Things like that. And that's just the kind of people, that Tom mentioned he surrounds himself with. And it was so terrific to kind of get to peel that back a little bit and just meet people who feel larger than life, but you realize many of them are really just like you and just trying to look to bring as much kind of joy and love and kindness into the world as you are. And that, I don't know, that made it so much more special. It's just like meeting people and realizing these people are larger than life. They're on TV, but really some of them are actually pretty cool. They're just like you.
That's it. So where was I? I had the great pleasure last week to do the Butler at Seton Hall game. Interesting game. Seton Hall bumping along. Butler had not won on the road. Butler came out with an energy and an offensive display. It was extraordinary. They took Seton Hall for 40 minutes and did what they wanted to do. Meanwhile, Seton Hall stayed with it, though. They didn't give in. There wasn't a lot of head dropping, and hopefully for them, better things will be ahead in February. Came home, changed out my bag, and went to Dayton for the VCU at Dayton. Big game atmosphere. People coming in from Richmond, staying in the local hotel. The people at Dayton couldn't have been kinder in greeting me and welcoming me to my A10 roots, and to being able to do an ESPN game on a Friday night, and a terrific game. Two postseason teams going at it. VCU, again, staying with it and catching them with a 12-0 run at the end to win on the road. It still rings in my ear, the chant, "Go Dayton Flyers." Really a Terrific experience. Got back early Saturday morning. Why? St. Mary Magdalene 5th and 6th grade girls playing for the championship at Cardinal O'Hara High School. And they lost to a great team at St. Kevin's, coached by a terrific Catholic League product, Billy Carr. St. Kevin's won that championship. St. Mary Magdalene was then in the 7th and 8th grade girls championship, the 5th and 6th grade boys championship, the 7th and 8th grade boys championship, all day at O'Hara, seeing young players having a chance to play on the big court and pursue a championship was neat. But had to rush home because Bryant was on TV against Binghamton, coming off of a loss to Albany and a 5-hour bus ride to Binghamton, and to watch them respond after being down early in the second half lifted me to get ready for the next game, which was Penn State at UCLA. And to see my son Jim on the sideline at Pauley Pavilion, it's one place that I wish that I had coached in my career. It was a museum. It's an artifact that you want to be a part of, and I didn't get a chance to do that. But other than that, Saturday was calm and just getting ready, and then Sunday, to see the buildup at church, see all of the people in the gear, got me wondering if there's a figure out there. Does somebody have an absolute certain figure of what is spent on Philadelphia Eagle gear? From the babies to the grandmoms in church, driving around Sunday, everybody had on Philadelphia Eagles gear. And then to watch that game, the execution, the joy was really cool. I just thought that you could feel the sense of excitement and anticipation through the television screen. It was a wonderful chance. Take a breath and then get up Monday and start NIT committee calls. And I had a wonderful opportunity to see Lower Merion and Pencrest play for the Central League Championship at Marple Newtown. Mike Doyle, wonderful friend, terrific coach at Pencrest, had been the number 1 seed. They had beat Lower Merion during the year with a double overtime. Greg Downer, legendary coach at Lower Merion, and another close friend. Lower Merion ended up winning that championship. But to see the student bodies of each school represented, Lower Merion came out all in Eagles gear. Their student body all in Eagles gear, and Pencrest all in white. It reminded you of what the game is really supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about memories, and that was a memory to be able to do that. And then last night, as the snow started to come down, I was able to get out to Wayne and join with Mike Sealski in promoting his book, Magic in the Air, The Myth, the Mystery, and the Soul of the Slam Dunk. He is taking the evolution of the dunk and related it to the growth of the game and how the game brings some divided areas together. Special opportunity. And Mike has written other books. He wrote a book on the Kobe Bryant rise. Does a great job on WIP. On Saturday, sports. He explains some of his experiences. Sports writer in New Orleans. So appreciative of having that opportunity to be with him in Wayne last night. And he'll be around the area if you get a chance. Pick the book up for sure, but get out there and support Mike. Terrific guy. Other than that, nothing going on. Just retired.
Yeah, retired. Yeah, I bet. I'll tell you what, one thing that you mentioned with just the build up to Sunday, and one that I thought was pretty special and made the rounds a little bit, was you mentioning fans tailgating at St. Peter Paul Cemetery. And just, you're like, that is what it means for this region, for this area. I've seen a few groups of fans do that. They, a friend passes and and they would always be at the tailgate, right? So it's like, okay, we'll just bring it to you, man. No big deal. And that to me is so emblematic of this entire fan base. Like that, it's just everybody is welcome, everybody's included.
And I
It's
got that.
beautiful.
I got that information from a dear friend, one of the great amateur golfers in the Philadelphia area, Edward Johnson, filmed it as he was driving down Sproul Road on Sunday, sent it to me. And then I said, well, I have to get this out. And I'm of the opinion that all of my tweets should go viral. To me, that's like more than 5 people look at it. And this one went like double platinum viral. And I got calls from all over the country of people saying, that's not true. And I would send them video evidence and say, not only is it true, here's the evidence. This is not like something that I've made up. Occasionally I can embellish, but this was needed no embellishment, to the point that people have started now to text me to say, I was there. I did that. And I got a lot of pushback though from Chicago Cubs fans who are claiming that they've done that. And I'm sure they did. But the difference is they did it after they won the World Series. They went and celebrated with their loved ones at their grave sites after they won. This was a group that was there passing around burgers and hot dogs and, of course, soft pretzels.
Of course.
Again, fascinating. And to get credit, Howie Long gave me credit on Fox on their pregame show, and it's just unbelievable. And it will be repeated. There will be people who will not go to the parade on Friday, but will go to the cemetery on Friday and watch the parade on there. Are there such a thing as portable TVs anymore, or streams, or
They'll pull the live stream up at the cemetery. That does sound nice. That sounds pretty cool.
It's definitely going to happen, right? And it's definitely going to happen. And yeah, it was terrific, and it just sets up the coming week.
It was an unbelievable week. But I mean, for us, it's just going to keep getting better. It's tougher to get better than coaches. I mean, Tom was unbelievable, but we do have quite an unbelievable guest coming up next.
Yeah, and we'll have to get there because there's a lot going on before we get there. So your Temple Owls, I have an opportunity to see them practice on the weekend along with Florida Atlantic. So I have an opportunity to do that game on Sunday for ESPN, Florida Atlantic Temple. And then I'll be preparing next week, double bubble, drive to DC, Providence, Georgetown. Some animosity in that rivalry. I'm going to go down and watch Georgetown practice and then do that game. And then the next night, for the first time in my fledgling broadcasting career, I'm going to be able to do USC at Maryland. Great atmosphere. Derek Queen, magnificent freshman, Julian Reese, an old head on the Maryland team, Kevin Willard style, and the joy that's in that building. You can see it when you watch games on TV. But I also will be prepping at the same time for this unique opportunity. Unionville School District has invited me in first to talk to their student leaders. So if you're head of the drama club, you're the head of the student council, you're a captain of a team, I'm going to get a chance to address them. And then later in the afternoon, their support staff that has joined on with a magnificent program, admired leadership. And I'm going to be able to address student leaders and the staff. All the while. And again, not a name that we want to give out yet because we want to be 100% certain. But I think this next guest will get people to say, how did they get to appear? I'll make a difference.
We're keeping it under wraps.
We're keeping it under wraps.
I like that call because it's another doozy. It's another one. I would say the next 6 weeks going to be pretty basketball heavy, as you can imagine, in the lead up to March Madness. Really, in both the men's and women's game, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this all unfolds for us.
I was just doing this in my head, and in no particular order, and not to jinx it, but the Catholic League winning coach, the Public League winning coach will appear. Aaron Bracey, who will join us, dropping his project, his magnificent project. Joe Lenardi, a national broadcaster, plus an appearance at the Coaches versus Cancer March Madness breakfast. A participant in the NCAA tournament. And guess what? It's April 1st. When we get through all these next 6 weeks, it's going to be basketball centric leading into the Final Four.
That's exactly as it should be. With football wrapped up, man, my mind is squarely on hoops. It's been a little distracted the past week, I'll give you that, but we are locked back in on hoops, especially with the Make a Difference podcast. I will have to give one more thanks to the terrific Tom Izzo for joining us. I mean, on a short turnaround from a game last night, a tough one last night. I mean, can't thank him enough for hopping on with us. Yeah, he was unbelievable as always. And like I said, I hope he can kind of rest up and recoup because he's got a great team and they have a good shot to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. So I just want to thank him once more and thank you for putting up with my Eagles antics the past few weeks. I understand it was difficult for you to buy into what was clearly the best team in the NFL this season, but
I'm strictly an analyst.
yeah, I bet. Another terrific Make a Difference in the can. We have an unbelievable guest coming up next week that I assure you're going to want to tap in for. I'm Jared Phillips. He is Phil Martelli. If you're looking to get in touch with him in any way, shape, or form to help the Make a Difference campaign, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That's where Phil's trying to make a difference in the classroom, in the workplace, on the court, off the court, wherever you feel like Phil might be able to lend a hand, teach, to learn anything he can do. As he mentioned, he's headed to the Unionville School District coming up here in a little bit. And his whole goal is to just lend a hand, to make a difference. If you like what you hear from the podcast, we would really appreciate it if you'll give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple, wherever you are listening to your podcasts. If you like what you are watching, go ahead, subscribe on YouTube and give us a like. Feel free to leave a comment with any thoughts on the show. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at Make a Diff Pod on X. We are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Our page on Facebook is Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is at Phil_Martelli on Instagram. He is at Phil Martelli on X. That is where he is providing most of the cemetery updates in the greater Philadelphia area. And if you are looking to get in touch with us in any way, shape, or form to continue to help us make a difference, if you have a guest idea, a segment idea, anything you want to hear from Phil, this man is full of wisdom and wonderful stories. But for now, that is it for the Make a Difference pod. Can we get one more? Just one more?
Sure.
Go
Birds.